Okie dokie, here we go. So another state of dev thing. So let's take off the opacity filter for a moment. Oop. Okie dokie, so things that have changed recently. We've got the issue list here, but I also have prepared a draft of the sponsors update in another window, if I can find where I put it. See, I thought I'd get all prepared this time. Lose track of the window. Yee. One moment while I pull it up. So it's because the issue is like this: the sponsors update includes stuff that was covered in the previous stream, so I don't want to like just read off of it. I just want to like check it just in case there's anything that's warranting mentioning. So the UI project tickets. So things that have been closed in the last, you know, week and a bit. And I've just noticed I've got that. There's a typo there, so I'm going to correct that. Right, so we'll go from the bottom. So ability to change the order that production flinging is processed in. That is implemented. So I'll just add 2 additional pools there. Go in and configure the flinging for both of them. We can now change pool 3 to come first. Or pool 2 to come first, and so on. It works with like multiple levels of stuff, so it's good. Yay! Zero amount items get filled in the production flinging. That's also been fixed. So if I go set this to 0, previously, I open this up, it wouldn't appear here. Now it does. This also applies to inputs. So the inputs can now be configured for production flinging. It's not perfect, because if I go apply like some to go to pool 3, it'll show us -1 instead of 0. Now that's been entered into the bug tracker, but it was deemed good enough to get released, so I could, you know, do more updates and stuff. So, yay. Let's get the game loading in the background. There we go. Ability to delete entries from production flinging config. Well, we're going to do that now. Whee! Because that triggers recalculation as well, so. Yeah. I'm wondering if I've accidentally set up a infinite loop on this demo here, because something this simple should not get stuck. Yeah, I found a new bug. I'll have to make note of that. Yeah, new bug. It's expecting destinations to be non-empty, and it's because I've deleted that element, it's now empty. Ability to use pools as redistribution centers. So that ties into what I was saying about the input being able to be configured as production flinging. You can send a bunch of parts to a pool. They'll be listed as inputs. You can then configure them as outputs. That just kind of came free. It wasn't like targeted for development this week. Well, I say came free. It was relatively easy to implement after doing all the extra work for it. Let's see. Add button on landing page. Load example saves into the load dialog. So if we reload here. So if I click on the little notation emoji, I can now see like the contents of the like the save file. Now There is a little bit of a thing here which ties into one. No, it's not listed in here, but it's on the draft for the updates. Because there's multiple versions of the JSON document schema. I'm using this to validate the JSON documents before parsing them, because why the hell would you not validate your inputs? The JSON documents are automatically upgraded, so I think this file is on version 4 in the source. If I just check that, we'll just switch sources a second. I just need to reload it because saves not in the data folder. Oh, there's the schemas. Save file, that's the tests. Data, new. Yeah, so it doesn't have a version number specified, so it's probably version 3 or version 4. Whereas, like that one, again, it's got some of the newer features, so it's on a slightly different version. And the calculation one's on version 5. So, well, you know, it's easy to demonstrate by saying, oh, the file itself says version 5, but if I go load it in, it says version 6 because it's been automatically upgraded. This might have some downsides, like if you're expecting to see, oh, I want to like actually see the original document. That's going to be counterintuitive, but it won't actually load as version 5. Hence the automatic upgrading procedure, and it might be a bit weird to have this dialogue support, or like look like it supports older versions. It should automatically upgrade them as well. I haven't actually tested that. I can actually test that now. Let's put in the old version. That is version 5. Yes, it does actually load. Okay, so that's fine. Something I hadn't considered, but yeah, works as intended. All the inputs are validated and upgraded. Yay. Consistent sort order for report views. I'm sure I mentioned this in the previous stream, so maybe that was closed on the day that the last stream was recorded. It's not used everywhere yet, but the sort order in here is now taken from the sort order for the parts that are listed in here. So parts that are listed multiple times because they come from, you know, multiple unlocks. Like ingots are listed in tier 0, but they're also specifically listed as ingots, like right up top, because it's one of the most common things to put in the calculator. Ingots will come first, despite, you know, aluminium ingot being part of bauxite, which is like way down, you know, tier 7. There was a fun thing was when I first implemented it, I didn't account for the multiple entries, so that means that stuff was in whichever was the most recent, rather than whichever came first, which was totally wrong. I mean, technically it was consistent, but it was just like a bad sort order. Okay, next thing. Option for thinking dialogue inputs won't accept trailing decimal. That was related to how I'm using HTML. In some places I'm using dot value, so it binds differently than if you just say value equals. So the property on the object was getting updated, which was reflecting changes back into the DOM, which stopped your ability to type. So those kind of things should be all gone now. I can just quickly check the source to be sure. Okay, so the remaining places where it exists, we have name for collections. Drop downs for collections. Name for pools, and drop downs for groups. So yeah, it's fine to have them in those places. There's like very little validation occurs on names. I might put it in future, like if someone goes and deliberately puts like line breaks in. It might mess up in certain places, like especially if I put pre-wrap on with the CSS. But it's if someone wants to put like inputs in like that, then you know you can shoot themselves in the foot if they want to. I mean, obviously, like the content's validated and sanitized where it needs to be, but it's not restricting what you can put into it. Let's see, change how the calculation workflow works in recipe selection dialog. So if we go in, we'll just pick one. There we go. So there's that toggle there. I'm sure this is another one that was covered in the previous state of dev. But if it's on by default, you turn it off. When you start messing around with these, it won't recalculate. I should take those off there. Something I found out, is going off on a tangent, like I do, because I get distracted with these all the time. Project filters only support date greater than, you don't support date less than, or date greater than equals, etc. So it's kind of really frustrating to see a project board that covers the same date range as these. Because on other tabs before I was getting prepared for this, I was putting in just stuff that's been updated. Even here, because I want to have direct links to it in the sponsor update. Obviously in here it's kind of moot, because like this stream isn't going to be live once it's recorded. The content here is going to be the content here. So yeah, it's a minor annoyance. I can like live with it. Let's see. Production filling destination colonies show breadcrumb trails for all pools. So if I go in here, so we can see here it says to storage 55, which is what it was saying before. Except oh look, there's an arrow right next to it. Main facility, fused modular frames to storage. I did previously have that displayed all the time, but then having every single row when there's multiple outputs be as chunky as this all the time felt a bit bad. So it's, you know, closed by default. So you need to get default view rendered if current pool isn't there. I think that was mentioned in one of the streams last week. If you deleted all your pools, saved, and then loaded that, the UI would get stuck because it was expecting a pool. That's been fixed now. Production flinging currently has issue handling overflow of input. That's been marked as fixed, but might get reopened because of this whole input overflow thing, saying if it has one input and you configure one output, it says -1 instead of 0 available. Right, there's the calculator, which is the guts of the UI. So the funding metadata has been added. That was just like a relatively routine thing I hadn't gotten around doing. It serves no purpose whatsoever because I can't really publish this as a package until docs.json has a license, so I can bundle it with docs.json.ts. So then the calculator can actually, you know, have tests run on it properly, because the tests only work locally because I can put docs.json in the relevant location and then, you know, blah. I have looked into getting docs.json available privately in the test suite, but it's a bit of a funky thing because it's too big of a file to be stuffed into like the GitHub secrets panel, and anything else would be considered redistribution, so that feels a bit off. So, you know, I might get around to it. That's like I have to put it somewhere online that I can retrieve that's, you know, password protected or just, you know, obscured in some other fashion for simplicity. So your calculation was reported as invalid. So this was a fun one. The inputs in the calculator support math sequences because, you know, you press N for calculator in the game, so you can do 1 + 2 divided by 3, etc. But that's wrong. That should be showing 1. There we go. Yeah, there's still some bugs in here which I haven't yet to iron out. That should also retain the math. So there's 2 bugs we've got right now. Let's get those bugs entered before I forget. Otherwise I'll... Actually no, let's just note them down and then enter them later, because that'll be quicker. Gee. Adding outputs and deleting can lead to empty destinations list instead of outputs being disposed of. Entering math into pool production, toggling display mode. From report, from calculator to report to calculator uses input math. Just want to check if that goes away on recalculation. Yeah, that's a problem. That's possibly related to how I'm using the new implementation. So we'll get back to the thing. So the calculation's been reported invalid and the deep nesting generates false negative. So previously for math inputs I was using a character by character parser, so it was going through and, you know, parsing each character as an individual token, saying what was expected, and if it's a different type of thing then we shift it to this state, etc, etc. It worked. It also caused some slowdowns which I didn't I was aware of, because, you know, that's one of the reasons why I put some of the recalculation toggles in. It's also really impacted this because you know, it's got like 67 plus pools on it now. The new replacement for that, like I did try to fix it, but there's that much going on with the states. It was easy to just try and change the implementation entirely. It's now based on spans of tokens. They're expected to be in specific orders. So any invalid input, well, any unsupported input should be immediately flagged before it's actually parsed properly. So, you know, yay. Clearly I missed a step, because when I've implemented it into the calculator, it's losing the context, or at least it's not displaying it, which we can quickly diagnose that now. So we go into here, 1 plus 2 divided by 3, then if it won't save. So the intermediary calculation is there. And then if we toggle display modes and then go to save again. So yeah, so the data is there, it's just not being displayed. Calculation retained in data, just displayed as number. So it's possibly I'm calling resolve calculation when I shouldn't. It should just be toString when it's getting applied to these. Let's see, fork number specific code to its own repo and npm package. So that is over here. We have 2 new packages. So the number specific one, something that became apparent when I was doing like the changes for the production flinging, I found that I was like, looking at the code that was used in the intermediary number classes and found that none of the generated types were being used in it. So it's pulling in the full docs.ts like stuff, whereas all it needs is the custom assertions. So custom assertions was forked out, which has everything apart from one custom assertion, because the custom, like that one custom assertion is specifically for the generated types. These are all things like, you know, array has size, you know, value not empty array object kind of things. It's all like little shortcuts that help writing the TypeScript. So the intermediary number stuff is being put into a package so it can have its own set of code coverage and things, which it can't when it's part of the calculator because the full test suite won't run. Just gets easier to manage. But it means, you know, people can use it in other projects not related to the calculator without having to, you know, pull in a whole bunch of unrelated dependencies. So that's all of those. Now if I go check my sponsors draft, I've lost which window it's in. There we go. Yeah, a lot of this stuff in my draft is related to like the previous week's work. Yeah, it's all good. So the intent was to like do some data entry, but it's going to be really irritating with the calculator thing not being there. So I'm gonna like hop off for a bit, get that bug fixed. Not necessarily get the other bug fixed, but I'm gonna get like at least the calculator display bug, well, calculation display bug fixed, so I can get a start on entering the data for. Like, oh, I can't get a good view from over there. For this facility, which makes all the parts for rotors, motors, and turbo motors. We'll also have some data transposition work to do because of the production flinging. I could actually start setting up the raw resources. And the way I was thinking of doing it was sticking it into a collection group level thing of collection being like Rocky Desert, and then group 4 coal, group 4 iron, group 4 limestone, etc. And then obviously we've got over here, we have the quartz nodes that I'm not sure are part of Northern Forest, because like this area on the map is the Green Valley. So, you know, we'll name it according to the most appropriate biome. and then I'll be able to say, oh, we've taken all of the coal from here, some of the coal from here, and sending it to the steel facility over there. Not really relevant so much for the coal, but more for the quartz, where the raw item would be redistributed. But for coal, it would be going into a redistribution floor in the steel facility over there, which hasn't been set up yet, so it's going to be a while before I get around to it. But that floor is responsible for sending out all of the iron ingots and coal for all the parts that need to make steel things. Or screws. So, you know, yay, redistribution centers. It's not as ideal as having dedicated production destination types, because being able to use inputs as production fitting outputs should work well enough that I think a redistribution center doesn't need its own dedicated type. So, yay. Those still on the board. I think we'll wrap this stream up by checking the production planner. Oh, the project planner rather. Go on the roadmap. So I got a bit distracted this week with this whole forking packages because of how I like to use interactive rebase to pick and drop and remove files. But I did get all of that work finished yesterday, so yay. Next week's ticket is highlight input needed in production flinging. The ticket for the week after that has already been fixed as part of the production flinging config work, just because it was easier for us to do a fundamental rewrite on how production flinging was implemented than it was to just say, oh, let's make this feature work with the existing implementation. So as part of that, it's like, oh, we've got these other tickets to do, let's make this new replacement, make it easier to support those things. So the roadmap is going to get updated eventually. Probably not get updated, well, this week's won't get updated until after this week's is done, because, you know, we'll need a new thing to do. But we've made good progress. We've still got a large amount of tickets in the backlog because I keep on adding things, but we've got 31 tickets done. So, yay! So that's going to be all for now. Thanks for watching. Goodbye.